Chapter 12, Cloud Logging. Logging provides essential visibility into your cloud environment, helping the troubleshooting, incident response, and security analysis. In this chapter, we'll explore Google Cloud Logging, a comprehensive managed service that helps you collect, store, search, analyze, monitor, and alert on log data from various sources. Google Cloud Logging allows you to collect logs from over 150 applications, Google Cloud components, third-party cloud providers, and hybrid environments. This chapter will cover the different categories of logs, their applications and security monitoring, and best practices for log management, including collection, storage, analysis, and export. So here's an overview of Google Cloud Logging. This is a part of Google Cloud's Operations Suite, which provides monitoring, troubleshooting, and observability capabilities for your cloud resources. The Operations Suite consists of four major components. Let's see if I can bring those up. One will be cloud logging. This allows the capturing, storage, and allows searching and filtering of logs. Next would be cloud monitoring. This provides metrics, dashboards, and alerting capabilities. Next would be cloud trace. Okay, this tracks request latency and performance issues. And then we have Cloud Profiler. All right. Cloud logging primarily focuses on log collection and management, providing capabilities to collect logs from various sources, derive metrics from logs, create dashboards, set up auto-scaling based on log metrics, and export logs for retention and analytics. By default, the Operations Suite monitors system metrics for Google Kubernetes Engine, Google Compute Engine, and various managed services like Data Store and BigQuery. You can also deploy monitoring agents on compute instances to collect lower-level metrics from supported services. So here's some key terminology. But first, we're going to add some of these to our documentation. Let's get this. So this is Cloud Profiler. Cloud logging. That's not the specific. We'll go back a little bit and get this one. Cloud logging. All right. Cloud monitoring, and cloud trace. All right. So we'll get these in the comments. Anyone looking at these in the future will be free get the monitoring. All right. Cloud trace. Cloud logging. All right. And those will be available if you want to go back into the playback. So here's some key terminology. To understand cloud logging effectively, let's explore some foundational concepts. Log entries. These are individual records that describe specific events or transactions. Each log entry typically includes a timestamp, the resource that produced the log, a payload or message, usually an unstructured text or structured JSON, and metadata, such as severity level. Logs. These named collections of log entries are identified by a path that includes the resource and a log ID. Retention period. The time logs are stored in cloud logging before automatic deletion. Different log types have different default retention periods. Queries and filters. These are expressions used to search logs or direct logs to specific destinations. Queries are used by Log Explorer to display matching log entries. Filters are used by log syncs to route logs to storage destinations. Log router. This is the component that processes all logs before they reach cloud logging. determining which logs go to store and which route to other destinations. Sinks. These are combinations of filters and storage destinations for routing logs. Log-based metrics. These are metrics designed or derived from logs for monitoring and alerting. Access control. These are IAM permissions that control who can access logs. So here's an example of how you would actually create a log bucket from code. All right. So you can see gcloud logging, create my-log-bucket, location, global, retention, 30 days, and a description, buckets for storing application logs. Oops. Buckets for storing application logs. All right. So log categories. In Google Cloud, logs can be broadly categorized into three groups: security logs, user logs, and platform logs. Let's explore each category with a focus on security implications. So security logs. These are logs primarily that include primarily cloud audit logs and access transparency logs. Cloud audit logs generate the following types. 1. Admin activity logs. These record API calls that modify resource settings or metadata. They cannot be configured, excluded, or disabled. They are always recorded, even if the cloud logging API is disabled, and there's a 400-day retention period. 2. Data access audit logs. These show who accessed which data, when, and what actions they can perform. There's a 30-day retention period. They're disabled by default, except for by BigQuery, and they require explicit enablement. 3. System event audit logs. These record Google-initiated events that alter resource configurations. All right? They're generated automatically, not by users, and cannot be configured, excluded, or disabled. 4. Policy denied audit logs. These are created when access is rejected due to security policy violations. They're determined by VPC service controls, and they cannot be disabled, but can be excluded from cloud logging. Access transparency logs provide records of actions taken by Google staff when accessing your cloud content. These logs help track compliance and regulatory requirements. User logs, or user written logs. These are generated by your applications and services. Okay. They're written to cloud logging using 1, the cloud logging agent. This is a FluentD-based agent that streams logs from instances to cloud logging. It's pre-configured to capture syslog logs and logs from common third-party tools. Cloud logging API. This directs API calls from your applications. Client libraries. These are language-specific libraries that integrate with your applications. Next are platform logs. Platform logs provide insight into Google Cloud services and infrastructure. Security-relevant platform logs include 1. VPC flow logs. These contain VM-level network telemetry. They help with performance analysis, traffic planning, and security forensics. They include source and destination IP addresses, ports, protocols, and timestamps. They're retained for 30 days by default, and they do not impact network performance. 2. Firewall logs. These are enabled for logging for individual firewall rules. They record TCP and UDP connections, and they're logged from the respective of VM instances. And 3. NAT logs, network address and translation logs. These record NAT gateway connections. They log creation of connections and dropped packets due to port unavailability, and they include both TCP and UDP traffic. So log retention. This is critical for compliance requirements. Default retention periods vary by log type. Admin activity logs are 400 days. Data access audit logs are 30 days. System event audit logs, 400 days. Policy denied audit logs, 30 days. VPC flow logs, 30 days. And firewall logs, 30 days. Custom retention periods can be configured for logs that need to be kept longer than the default. Longer retention periods incur higher costs. So log management. Effective log management requires understanding who produces logs, who consumes them, and how they flow through the system. So there's log producers. These are resources that generate logs. This includes Google Cloud services, applications running on Google Cloud, on-premises systems, and third-party cloud services. Then there's log consumers. These are services that are utilized for logs for purposes like alerting, troubleshooting, business intelligence, and security analytics. Examples include centralized logging solutions, SIM systems like SIEM, and cloud logging itself. Then you have log router. This is the central component that processes all logs before they reach cloud logging. When logs are sent to the cloud logging API, the log router does the following. It evaluates each log entry against defined rules. It determines which logs to store in cloud logging. It routes logs to configured export destinations and discards logs that match exclusion filters. Log syncs and exports. Syncs define where logs should be sent. They consist of a filter to select logs, a destination for selected logs. Available destinations include 1. Cloud storage buckets for long-term archives like JSON files. 2. BigQuery datasets for analysis and querying. 3. PubSub topics for real-time processing and third-party integration. And log buckets and other projects for log aggregation. Syncs can be created at various levels in the resource hierarchy: the project level, folder level, organization level, billing account level. And when a log entry matches a syncs filter, it's routed to the syncs destination. So here is an example of code you would use for creating a sync. Let's connect this. I'll show you that. Okay, give me a second. All right. So this will give you an example of what you would see. G-Cloud logging syncs create error log sync, storage Google, storage.google.apis, my error logs bucket, severity, error. Okay. So creating a log export. So let's look how to create a log export by configuring a log bucket and a sync. Okay. So let's see, we're in monitoring. Let's see, log storage. Check that. Okay. So here you click create log bucket, enter a name. Log bucket. All right. Enter description. And then you can upgrade this with analytics, but you can't downgrade the log bucket, right? You set this for the region, whether global or per region, and then set the retention period and create bucket. Note, you cannot change the region of a bucket after creation. And the maximum retention period is 100 years. Okay. And you can also do this using the CLI. Give you an example of that code. You would enter gcloud logging, gcloud logging, logging buckets create, then the bucket name, and then the location, and then the retention days, and then the description. Okay. Okay. You'd replace the bucket name, the location, the retention days, and description with appropriate variables for them. So you can also create a log sync, right? So if you went here to monitoring, go to, oh, sorry, I was in the wrong one. Monitoring, okay. And then you go to log router. Okay, you click create sync. Specify the sync name. Sync. Enter the description. All right. Sync destination. Logging bucket. Select the bucket. Oh, there's one bucket by default. Next. And then you choose the logs to include in the sync. So you can include the filters right here. Go next. Choose logs. Oops. No, I'm sorry. Have exclusions to filter out. All right. And then you create the sync. Now, note, when routing logs between Google Cloud projects, you must set appropriate destination permissions. Okay. We're going to cancel out that one. All right. Oh, and you can also do this from the CLI as well with the following. gcloud logging syncs, create sync name, destination, and logs filter expression. Okay. And you replace sync name, you replace destination. And then for cloud storage, you could enter the following. The cloud storage for BigQuery and for PubSub, you would enter the following. Okay. For cloud storage, storage.googleapis.com, BigQuery, bigquery.googleapis.com, and PubSub, pubsub.googleapis.com. You see projects, you see the project ID, and those would be the capitalized letters. You see those as what you would update this with. All right. So granting sync service account permissions. After creating a sync, cloud logging assigns a unique service account to the sync, which requires permission to write to the destination. So you have to actually retrieve the sync's service account, right? And you would do that with the following command. gcloud logging syncs describe sync name. Okay. You note the writer identity field and the output, and then you grant permissions to the service account. So for cloud storage, you'd use the following. gsutil IAM ch service account, writer identity, object creator on the bucket name. Okay. For BigQuery, you use a different command. All right. BQ add IAM policy binding, project ID, and the dataset ID, service account with the writer identity, and then the roles for that correct permission. And then for PubSub, you would use the following command. Okay. gcloud PubSub topics, add IAM policy, binding policy, binding policy, topic name, and then member service account, and then roles PubSub. Okay. Clear that out. And you replace those capital letters with the appropriate variables that you need to. So it's crucial to grant the sync's service account the appropriate permissions on the destination to ensure logs are exported successfully. Logging, archiving, and aggregation. Okay, so logging, archiving. To archive logs, create a log sync with cloud storage as a destination, which we did earlier. This allows you to store logs for extended periods and apply lifecycle management policies. Then you have log aggregation. This centralizes logs from multiple sources, which is valuable for auditing, archiving, and ensuring non-repudiation. You can configure aggregated exports at the organizational level to ensure all logs from all projects are exported to a central location. This applies to both new and existing projects. Real-time log analysis and streaming. For real-time log analysis, you can create a streaming pipeline using cloud logging to collect the logs, PubSub to stream the logs, Dataflow to process logs, Cloud DLP to remove sensitive data, and then BigQuery to store process logs for analysis. Okay. This allows you to process logs in real time and at real scale, remove sensitive information before storage, perform complex analytics using SQL queries, and visualize results with Data Studio or Looker. Log analytics. Log analytics help you identify patterns and correlations across service, troubleshoot issues more quickly, like a DevOps rare use case, and then investigate security threats, so a security use case, and understand fleet performance over time. This would be an IT ops use case. So exporting logs for compliance. To meet compliance requirements, you follow these steps to set up a comprehensive logging solution. One, let's go over here. Let's try and do this. Cloud storage. Okay. Create a storage bucket for logs. All right, let's see if we can use one of these. Let's create this one. Jewels, logs. All right, use a globally unique name, select select an appropriate location, regional or multi-regional. We're gonna have this multi-regional. And then set the default storage class. We have it at standard. Enable uniform access control. Okay, we have uniform. Okay, and then configure the retention policy. Now, we're not going to have an advanced retention policy, right? But yeah, see, there's retention, right? Okay. Enable object retention. We're okay with that. We'll just click create. Enforce public access prevention. We'll confirm that. Okay. So this will be created. And then you can set up an object lifecycle management, right? So in here, you can add a rule. So after, let's say, 60 days, you can move the logs to nearline. After 120 days, you can move it to cold line. And then you can enable audit logging for all Google Cloud services. All right. So we're going to see observability. Okay. Where is it? Let's close this out. Let's reject this. Let's close this. I need to get more screen real estate. That's replication. Maybe it's configuration. Audit. Where am I finding? That's access control. Protection. That's not quite what I want. Life cycle. That's not what I want. Maybe it should be here. Storage class, not public, soft delete. Configure the cache. Maybe that's it. Enable caches for data and sensitive workloads. Hmm. Let's see if audit login. Let's see if I can go here. Set default configuration. Audit. Set default configuration. Maybe it's this. Types of operations can be recorded in your data audit logs, admin read, data read. You can configure all this here, but this is not quite what I'm looking for. But I want to enable this for all services. Data access logs. Data access logs configuration. Okay. Okay, so this is where I would do it. Yeah, I would select this. There we go. Select these. Select these. And then all of these would be saved. All right. And then from here, let's go back to, all right. So monitoring, we go to a log. Let's see. Let's see, log sync. Create a sync. It's not quite what I'm looking for, but we're in the neighborhood. If you guys see log sync, let me know. Well, you want to create a log export and configure it with the appropriate filters, right? So I'll show you what the filters would look like. All right. So it'd be log name, cloud audit logs, Google APIs, or resource type GCS bucket, or resource type Cloud SQL database, or resource type BigQuery resource, right? So that gives you an idea of how to configure a log sync. And then you'd set up IAM permissions to grant the service account storage object creator permissions on the bucket. For log compliance, to ensure it, you have to consider these aspects. One, separation of duties. Use aggregated exports to a different project owned by a different team. Store archives in Google Cloud Storage. Least privilege. Grant the minimum required permissions on objects to prevent log removal. Enforce bucket policy only feature to disable object level permissions. Non-repudiation. Configure bucket lock to ensure retention of objects. Enable object versioning on the bucket. So logging and auditing best practices. Enable data access audit logs for relevant services. It's not enabled by default. Choose the right log storage destination. So cloud storage is best for archival or retention. BigQuery is good for analytics and forensics. Configure appropriate permissions for log access. Strip sensitive data from logs before storage with DLP. Periodically, review audit logs stored in cloud logging, BigQuery, or third-party SIM solution. Implement appropriate controls early as log volume grows over time. Configure log-based alerts for security-relevant events. Establish log retention policies aligned with compliance requirements. Document logging procedures for incident response scenarios. and regularly test log collection and analysis capabilities. So we've gone through this, but here's a step-by-step guide to setting up basic logging in Google Cloud Console. One, enable the cloud logging API. You go to APIs and services, enable the cloud logging API if it's not already available. You should be good to go in a few minutes. Two, configure log syncs. You do that going over here, going to monitoring, clicking log router, and you create the syncs for your desired destinations. Okay. Three, set up your IAM permissions, right? Ensure the proper appropriate roles are assigned, right? Logs viewer for reading logs, logs configuration writer for configuring logging, and logs writer for writing logs. Then enable audit logging, which we did visit a little bit over here. Okay. So you can configure audit logs specific to services here. She showed you. And then you create logging metrics. Okay. So go to here, go to monitoring, and then logs-based metrics. And then you can create custom metrics for monitoring. So creating log-based metrics. Log-based metrics allow you to extract numerical data from logs for monitoring and alerting purposes. So to do this in the console, you'd already go here, which we're at on the page, and you create a metric, all right? In here, you'd have to determine between a counter or distribution. So choose the count of a number of log entries or collect numeric data from log entries matching a given filter, right? Enter the metric name. So just Jules memory, right? Enter the description, enter units, GB, and then you can define a filter, or this, set the bucket, define the filter that you want, and then click create the metric. Okay, we're going to cancel though, just to be safe, because we don't want that. And you can also do this with Cloud CLI as well, right? So use this code, this command. gcloud logging metrics, create metric name and the description, and then the filter expression. Okay. And you can set up alerts based on log-based metrics. Okay. So to do that, you go to the alerting page, right? Alerting, excuse me. So it would be under monitoring, and then here under alert. Okay, from here, click create policy. All right, you do builder or coder, right? How are you going to actually build this? Select the metric, let's say VM instances, instance, CPU usage. That'll be a simple one. Apply this, right? And then add a filter, okay, as needed. And then set the time series as you need it. And then have the window rolling to show how this is done, how you'd like to measure it. Go to next. Project ID equals this one. Okay, we'll go here. And then you set conditional alerts if it hits a certain threshold. So if this is CPU usage, if it gets over, let's say 60%, 30%, something along, gets above, percent of the time violates, minimum percent of the time, but no, number, anytime series violates, threshold value 60. No, let's go 85%, right? Then you set your advanced options. And then you set up a notification channel, which you can do. It's a little more complex, but you have options: Google Chat, PagerDuty, Slack, email, SMS, PubSub, right? And then we're going to cancel out of that. It's the authentication issue, and I don't want to give out sensitive information. Then you select those that desired, and then add any application labels, service labels, and you would be okay. And then update your what do you call it? Policy severity level, any documentation you need, name the policy, and then click next, right? And then you'd finalize this with a policy name and click create the policy. So I'm going to cancel out of this. All right. But please note, ensure that the notifications are verified and properly configured to receive alerts. It's going to be done with your own internal systems communication setup, but it's relatively simple to do. Okay. Remember, export logs for long-term storage. This sets up syncs to cloud storage with appropriate retention. So how do you do this, right? So you want to create the cloud storage bucket, which I think we already did earlier. Okay. And that. Okay. So we have this. Okay. So we have this bucket. All right. Excuse me. All right. So we have this bucket. We have the unique name. We have the right location. Then we want to create a log sync to be monitoring router. Create the sync and choose the storage bucket. Enter this information. Choose the sync destination for that bucket. You set the life cycle policies in the bucket, and then you should be good to go as far as letting this roll into short-term, medium, and long-term scheduling. Okay? Please remember, when you're configuring the retention and lifecycle policies, ensure that your compliance data retention requirements and optimize this for your storage costs, because this will add up. So in conclusion, cloud logging provides comprehensive capabilities for collecting, analyzing, and managing logs across your Google Cloud environment. By implementing proper logging practices, you can enhance security monitoring, meet compliance requirements, and gain valuable insights into your cloud resources. Key takeaways from this chapter include the understanding the difference between logs available in Google Cloud, knowing how to configure log exports and syncs, implementing appropriate retention policies for compliance, leveraging log analytics for security insights, following best practices for secure log management. Effective logging is a cornerstone of a robust security strategy, providing the visibility needed to detect, investigate, and respond to security incidents in your cloud environment. By following these instructions and re-listening to this, you can effectively manage your Google Cloud logging for resources in your cloud. This will ensure proper log storage, export, monitoring, and compliance. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. Next up will be Chapter 13, Image Hardening and CI/CD Security. Until then, have a good day.